Hello everybody, welcome back. It is me, your old pal Orpheus, with another adventure here on Orpheus Plays. Yes, it's a great day for murder, and here we are. We're playing Blade and Sorcery, and we're in the arena, but we're not playing survival mode today. We're going to be doing some one-on-one fights, and I wanted to talk to you about what it used to be like to travel from state to state on airplanes, going to the airport, getting somewhere, you know, that whole thing. Anyway, it's going to be a lot of fun. I hope you enjoy it. So here we go. Let's start things off. It is a great day for murder, like I said, here in the arena. And let's start things off. Boom, there we go. I hope you're doing well wherever you are today, whether it's day or night, or you're about to get on an international flight and you realize you didn't bring anything to do and you didn't even bring your credit card, and so now you have to listen to the grandma sitting right next to you the whole time. I've done that. It's absolute hell. There we go. Sword of Aragon. You want to take on me, bro? All right, let's do our first traditional slow motion kill of the day here. We're going to do a little bit of dueling first. Oh, I cut off his hand first. Stick him right through the chest, and we flip him around. That's right. Okay. Now with that out of the way. Hi, how you doing? So, I wanted to tell you what it was like when I was younger. We used to travel a lot. My family traveled a lot for a lot of things. My dad was a business person, and so... Ooh, that was nice. And so we traveled a lot for his business, and since he could write it off, well, he took the family too. Okay. It's a sharp sword. Anyway, so we would always, take trips everywhere. I think I've mentioned in another video, I had so many frequent flyer miles at some point that I could go like every year on a round trip anywhere. Pretty much. Anyway, it was for several years that I had that. So let's say we were gonna fly to, I don't know, London, right? Oh, come here. Oh, what's going on? Did I get her? I got her. Can I smush their helmets? There was something in the mod about this. Anyway. So let's say you want to go to London. So what it used to be is you would buy your tickets, usually through a travel agent, right? Not online. There was no online. Oh, nice. And so we would get the tickets, and we would have the date, right? And you get all packed and everything, and you get set. You have your passports, of course, and you go to the airport. You're supposed to get there 2 hours early for that. They used to have a curbside check-in, right? So you could check your baggage with a guy at the, when you pulled up in your car. You could go up front and they would just check your baggage for you, just some dude, and you'd tip him and everything. Your bags would go on a little carousel. Some of the airports, if you have one in your city, they still have all the equipment out front, and you might wonder, like, why does it look like they have a checkout counter out front? Yeah, they used to do that. So you'd give your baggage there. You'd be there 2 hours early, hopefully, unless you've seen Home Alone. That's actually happened a lot, where they'll hold the flight for people just a little bit. But you could like literally run into the airport and get in there. They used to have security. So you park your car in the long-term parking lot. You'd go to airport security, and you would security back then. This is laughable. You'll be like, what the hell, right? Back then, security was a metal detector. And if you're going internationally, sometimes they would look at your bags, but not all the time. That looking in the bags thing came later. So they would run it through the X-ray machine. They would have you go through a metal detector. That was it, right? Now, for an international flight, all you really needed was your passport. They didn't actually check it anywhere until you got somewhere, okay? Now, these days, you have to have the ID when you go up to the counter to get your tickets or check in. You have to, unless you check in online, and whatever. But if you check in online under a different name, you're screwed. You go to the airport, they're like, show me your ID. And if you're like, Booty McToot Toot or whatever, right? Booty McToot? Where did I come up with that? Anyway, so let's say that's your name. You book it online. You go to the airport, and they're like, hey, show me your ID. Well, these days, it's like, whoops, you know. And unless you got a nice fake ID. Anyway, so back then, you could book a flight for any name you wanted. Joe Smith, Bob Jones, whatever. Orpheus, McOrpheus, right? There we go. You could do that and then go to the counter and say, hi, I'm Orpheus McOrpheus. I would like to come and get my ticket. You'd go to the gate. You'd give them your boarding pass. You'd get on your flight. And let's say this is just state to state, right? You get on your flight, you get off the flight, and that's it. You know, you're Orpheus McOrpheus for that flight. But nowadays, damn, man, they check your ID. The security at the gate, you have to take your shoes off and stuff, and like no containers more than 4 ounces. You know, back then it was like, you know, you could bring an igloo cooler, you know, a smaller one obviously, but you could bring an igloo cooler along and like have your own food and like entire bottles of water or soda. You could bring cheeseburgers and everything from home, right? So that was the first thing. No ID needed, and if you're flying internationally, so like for this thing, we'll go back to the international flight. So you have your ID, which is your passport. You get all your baggage checked in. They really they didn't ask you a lot of questions. It was like, you know, hey, are these your bags? Yes. Did you pack them yourself? Yes. Did anyone give you anything to put in your baggage? No. Okay, good. You know, there you go. And so let's say you're getting on a big old plane, one of those 747s, or is it the 76? The one that has 2 decks on it. I remember those were really cool. You could have the top deck and like walk around up there in first class and everything. We only traveled first class once in a while. It's not really any different. I mean, back then. Before they started making planes into these tin cans that they could pack as many people into as possible, which is what they do now. Did she just fall on something? Okay, whatever. But back then, there was plenty of room. They would show films. It was always fun because the film industry used to work a little different. So they'd have a movie in a movie theater, and then maybe 3-4 months after that, they would have first the movie would be out on flights, on international flights. And then they would release it shortly after that on regular flights. Like if it was, I don't know, New York to California, they'd show you one of the close to first run movies, ones that were probably still in the movie theater. You see his arm jumping over there. So they would show a movie that was probably still in theaters. And then after that, the video market would get it for a ridiculous price, and then you could be able to see it at home. And then normally it'd be on cable after that, and then a long time after that, sometimes, you know, 1.5 2 years, they might have it on TV. Well, so you had your flight, you know, in the flight for an international one, they would show, you know, if it was like a 10-hour flight, they'd show like 2 or 3 movies, and you'd get your headphones. The thing I loved about the headphones, and I think they still do them the same way in a lot of places, on the older airplanes. Ooh, you like that? How about another? One more. Nope, I missed. Okay, there we go. Put him out of his misery. So one of the things I really used to love was the earphones. And you'd go around and you'd buy it for a couple bucks or whatever. And so, hey, by the way, you know who you are that I have this for. I'll say your name right now. No, you know what? I won't. My Canuck friend, I have the baguette for you. I heard you had to go to Quebec a little while ago, or I hope you're talking about Quebec. Anyway, La Baguette Land. So this is for you. The French bread. We're going to beat them up with it. So the headphones are really cool because they were tubes, right? They were actual, like, you know, like stethoscope tubes, right? That ran, and you'd plug them into your armrest. And it was 2 tubes. Each of the tubes went up, and that was your stereo. And so, oh, you like that? How about this? Oh. And a French breakfast beating. So you plug those in, and they had all these different channels, and you'd click the thing over. And I think, the coolest thing about that was that it was actually like piped into each seat in an audio, like down a physical line. That was amazing to me. It wasn't electric. It was like manual. I don't even know how that actually worked, but just thinking about the Wow, lady. Oh no, she hasn't even started the fight. She's already woozy. Oh no, come on. Oh no. Anyway, so I love just thinking about all those tubes running into each armrest and everything like that. Okay. So then there's something else on the other armrest, or on that armrest, right? You look down and there's this like silver thing that flips open. Now maybe you've seen them. I don't know if they still have them. They definitely still have them in the bathrooms. And they are ashtrays. And you wonder, why do they have the ashtray in the bathroom, by the way? If there's no smoking in the bathroom, there's a big ass sign that says, no smoking in the bathroom. It's a, federal violation or whatever. Yeah, they have the, they have the ashtray in there in case some dumb shit decides to smoke a cigarette or try to, and they don't know where to put it out. They don't want them trying to flush it down the toilet. They don't want them trying to put it in the garbage or anything like that. They don't want them putting it down the sink, so they actually give them an ashtray in case they're that stupid. Hey, if you thought one baguette was good, haha! Now we are going for the 2 baguettes. Deux, trois. I can only hold deux. Anyway, so... yeah, so the ashtrays used to be at every single seat. And, while we're talking about the ashtrays, holy God, you guys and gals don't realize, like, smoking was frigging everywhere. Now, you see it in movies and TV these days, right? But it's always someone who's like, the bad guy, or the guy that's about to die, right? I love that trope in movies where the guy that pulls out the cigarette and lights it is the one that dies next. Or he's about to die, someone's about to like club him over the head or something. Give me this. Give me this. I want to play with this. Come here. Hey, lady. Come here. Yeah, right across the face there. Yeah. Anyway, so smoking was absolutely everywhere. I mean, like, while we're talking about the plane still, smoking, there was a smoking section in the plane. So when you got your seat, like you got your ticket and you'd go to check in, they would have like, hey, do you want smoking section or non-smoking? And you'd either go, smoking, non-smoking, or I don't have a preference, because, you just get placed somewhere on the plane. Now, back then, you'd choose, like, let's say you choose smoking. Let's say you smoke, or let's say you don't care, right? You go ahead and you sit in the smoking section. And what they say is, the smoking section, there's a lot of high intensity air filters and everything throughout the entire plane, and it filters out the air. Now, that is very true. Down with you. When you go onto a plane, even especially these days, you have less chance of getting sick or anything bad from the air normally, because the filtration systems in the planes are absurd. Anyway, so that's what they said. Oh, it's safe for you, right? Because you're high intensity air filters. Well, the reality is that you're still sitting, a couple rows. Am I denting your helmet? Ew. You're still sitting a row or two away from people that are smoking, and so you're still gonna get it. Well, so, let's say there's just a bunch of people smoking, that entire smoking section, and let's say you're unfortunate enough to be sitting somewhere where you have to walk through the smoking section to get to the bathroom. Yeah, that's right. You're walking through a sea of smoke. And, admittedly, I used to smoke, okay? It's very bad for you. While we're talking about smoking, it is absolutely terrible for you. You're making choices that lead to risks that, they're no good. And so I used to smoke, and just going into the smoking section even I felt dirty, being in there. It was just, everybody smoking everywhere and putting out their cigarettes and ashing everywhere. Like you'd get off of the plane and smell like you'd been in a nightclub. But you could smoke in the... Well, no, you weren't supposed to smoke in the bathroom. I don't think. I don't remember that part, actually. But the funny part is, about that smoking thing, they still had... they had just banned smoking on state-to-state flights. They still had it on international flights. And I don't know, I think there might be a couple of airlines that still have smoking. But anyway, I had to take a trip. I forget what it was. I had to fly somewhere. And I had the thing is called Blue, B-L-U, and I was like one of the first people that bought one of those damn things. Oh, look, it's Hitler. Great. And I was one of the first people that had one of those things, and I confused the hell out of the airplane, out of the what was it, the airline people? The stewards and stewardesses, whatever it was. They were like, what is that? I kind of explained it. I'm like, well, I just, it's got nicotine and glycol in it or whatever. And it's like, I blow out air vapor and or water vapor. And they're like, hold on, we got to look into this. And they asked, they made some calls and they're like, no, you're fine. You can use that in the plane because no one really knows what it is. So go ahead. So I spent one of the flights smoking that thing. Anyway, those were awful. So the smoking was absolutely, literally everywhere. You'd go in the airport, everyone's smoking everywhere in the airport, even though they, supposed to have smoking areas. Everyone smoked everywhere indoors in the airport. You'd look to give you an idea of how prevalent smoking is. My doctor, when I was really young, like up until about 10 or 11 years old, my doctor would come into the exam room smoking a cigarette. Okay? Like, seriously, like it was everywhere. We would have parties and our house would stink. My entire family smoked. Well, not my mom or my brother, but my extended family and everything. Hi! Everybody smoked, so a party was just ashtrays everywhere in my house. And it was just, oh man. So I think that's why I picked it up. Anyway, smoking was in restaurants and bowling alleys and just everywhere. And they talk about secondhand smoke, right? I'll get back to this in a second. Anyway. Anyway, so you're on this international flight. It's usually, you don't, there were no tablets or smartphones or, little mini consoles or DVD players. So you weren't going to spend your time doing something like that. So you either did, reading, or you went through the magazines. If you've never gone through the magazines that are in the plane, do it. They have the airline has their own magazine. I don't know if they still have Sky Mall. I loved Sky Mall. Sky Mall was great. All the things you never knew you wanted, right? Go look up Sky Mall if you're not familiar with what I'm talking about. It's this catalog that's just got a bunch of absurd stuff that rich people buy. And I mean, it's crazy stuff. Here's a baseball signed by the entire New York Yankees in 1972 or whatever. It's like, well, how much would that run? Oh, it's, $15,000. So you figure they've only got one of those in stock, right? Or you could buy, what was some of the things? What was it? A water slide for your backyard or something, and it was genuinely like a water slide. They'd come out and install it, or a half-size Humvee, right? that was powered by batteries. It was absurd. Anyway, so we would read those, obviously books, and of course the movies. And then you get where you're going, and customs was usually a joke for us. You just you walk up, you go, hey, I'm here for, business or pleasure, whatever, and they stamp your thing and go away. I had, folks, to give you another example of how much I traveled, You know, Passport has all these places where they stamp, you know, where you've been or where you're going. So they'll do it in between countries, when you come into a country from overseas, when you go back into the U.S., right? And there are some places, like in the Caribbean and things like that. Not the Caribbean. Like some touristy places like Monaco and everything, and Ibiza, that have their own special, like, they're almost like collector stamps, right? Guatemala had a really cool one. Obviously they're different now, but they had a very sweet one. So to give you an idea of how much I traveled, I had 4 passports between being born and what was it? 16 years old. I had to get another one after. No, okay, so that was the 4th passport, and I filled that up halfway. I don't have a passport right now. I don't even know where it is anyway. So yeah, I filled up 3 entire passport books with stamps. Yeah, that's quite a feat. Anyway, so you get to where you're going. Customs was a joke. You'd go and you'd get your baggage. Now these days, what are you swinging at, Stumpy? So these days, when you want to get your baggage, you have to go and like check it with a person. They blip your thing. They blip the baggage. You go out and you do your thing. Then it was like you just grab your baggage, you go to the customs, and you walk out. You could have anyone's bags. It didn't matter. They didn't really care. And a lot of people had their bags stolen like that back then. So yeah, it was pretty amazing to go and travel back then. You got free peanuts. You got like all the peanuts. Seriously, like you just ask for you ask for more peanuts, they bring you more peanuts. There were free meals. I know, right? Full meals. And I mean, like on a long flight, you got 2 meals, sometimes 3 if you're flying somewhere really far away, like Japan, or I don't know, where was it? Like Australia or something like that. So that was really neat. And they had something back then that you will not see ever again. And I don't know when they stopped doing this. You could go, and if you were younger, you could request to go up to the cockpit, and they would bring you up to the cockpit, and they'd open it up, and you could go and sit with the pilots, stand in there for a little bit. They'd show you all the instruments and everything. You could talk to them, and they'd give you a little set of pilot's wings, and they weren't plastic. That was the coolest thing about them. Most airlines, they weren't plastic. They were like these metal pilot wings that were like, they were so cool. I used to collect those things. But letting you into the cockpit, yeah, good luck after 9/11. That's not happening. You're not going to see a cockpit up close, except for maybe when you're getting on the plane. You get to like look over here, and they got the cockpit open. But that's about it. You're not going to, get in there and get a chance to one-on-one with the pilots, right? But I did that like at least a dozen times over the years. And when I was young, prepare for the moment, I used to have a Paddington bear. And it was about that big. It was like a beanbag bear, like a stuffed animal. And I had a raincoat outfit for him. It was his, the yellow raincoat and hat. And I got that. Wow, that was slick. He did a little pirouette and fell down. So I got that thing in London when I was really young. When we were living there when I was 6 years old. And so I used to take that everywhere with me after that. And I used to take the hat and I'd turn it upside down so he could sit in it. And then I would take the 2 little knots that were at the end of it and I would tuck them into the tray table and then close the tray table so he would have a little swinging seat right there in front of me. Yeah. Anyway, so that was always a fun experience. It's so different now than it used to be. I mean, completely different experience. Now you feel like you're doing something almost dangerous, right? When you go on a flight, you feel like you're just, I don't know, you're doing this thing with things could go wrong at any moment, right? And with the way flights have been, oh my God, with hijackings and everything, they started going, and then 9/11, of course. That was bad. And then, oh my God, just the things that you have to go through in order to get on a flight now. it's terrible. But I want to go back to smoking real quick. They sort of wonder why instances of cancer didn't like substantially go up around the two world wars, right? Because smoking around that period in society was like, I mean, you got to understand. There's a commercial with the Flintstones with Fred and Barney, and they're smoking like Tareyton cigarettes or something like that, or I don't remember what the brand of cigarettes is, but they're smoking cigarettes and talking like, hey, Bon, it's good to have these cigarettes. They're so smooth. Yeah, it's just like, oh my god. But doctors used to tell you to smoke to relieve tension and stress. The cigarette dispensers, they're just kitschy stuff right now to have in your house. Like one of those, it's a dispenser that you like lift up and all the cigarettes will pop out at like a 45-degree angle. And there's a lighter in the middle of it. Smoking accessories were everywhere. But they say that once you're exposed to, or once you smoke for a certain period of time, and again, this is not condoning or endorsing, don't smoke, it is bad for you, but this is something that they've sort of discovered, I think, is when you smoke or you're exposed to heavy secondhand smoke for a very long time, and I'm thinking like, 24 or 25 years or something, your lung tissue learns to kind of regenerate itself, okay? The cells start to almost become immortal to damage. And so that's why you didn't see a high instance of cancer in people that were, from the two world wars and around that period of time. And so what you are seeing is more instances of cancer in these crossover decades, or in these crossover generations, where you've got kids that had parents or grandparents that smoked, but they didn't really do it in the house a lot, or they only did it in certain places. Her arm flying over here, great. And so you didn't get a lot of exposure, but you got some, and those are the ones that are developing the lung cancers and the thyroid cancers and things like that. It's weird that it's like, as it goes away, there's higher instances of secondhand smoke incidents, and I don't know. It's weird. So, that's my little blurb on how traveling on airplanes used to be, and like smoking. Oh my god, you have no idea, man. Everybody smoked. Oh boy. So, we'll see you in the next one. Hope you're doing well, and I hope you continue doing good, and treat yourself well, because you know what? You deserve it. We'll see you in the next one. Bye!